Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Scoop on K-State, a show featuring leaders of Kansas State University and our efforts to become a next-gen land-grant university. It's an honor to welcome Dr. Hans Coetzee, University Distinguished Professor and Vice President for Research at Kansas State University. Thank you, Hans, for joining us today.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the opportunity. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
9 months in, and things are going really well, so we're going to talk a lot about that today. But let me first kind of take a minute to introduce you to our audience who may not know, and this is a long list, so I'll do my best here. So you're a University Distinguished Professor and serve as Vice President for Research. You earned a Bachelor of Veterinary Science degree from the University of Pretoria, South Africa in 1996. You worked 4 years in mixed animal practice in northern Iowa, followed by 2 years in pharmaceutical research and development at Norbrook Laboratories. You hold a specialist certificate in cattle health production from the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons in London, 2000, and a doctorate in veterinary microbiology from Iowa State University in 2005. You're a European specialist in animal welfare science, ethics, and law, and you've received more than $21 million in research funding. And recently, you became one of the youngest Kansas State University faculty members ever to achieve the title of University Distinguished Professor. So, did I get all that? That's a lot.
Thank you, Adam.
I'll take a breath.
I think for the alumni to know, as I'm a farm kid by heart. I grew up in a farming environment. We did 4-H. We raised registered Hereford cattle, and we had a Holstein dairy, milked 750 cows, and so that was my background growing up, was early mornings and late nights, and that's really what inspired me to pursue a career in veterinary medicine. I was very excited about the idea of solving problems for producers, and I think that's one of the aspects of the job I do now that I really enjoy, is that it still allows me to engage with stakeholders across the state and producers to really find what are the real challenges that they're facing, and to connect them with expertise here at K-State and how we can solve those problems.
That's great. I'll tell you what, I'm a farm kid too, but we're the lazy farmers. We didn't do dairy. So anybody that says they do dairy is commendable, because those are early mornings and late nights. So that's quite the chore. So that's neat. Well, let's kick it off. Most people, know about universities through athletics, whether they earned a degree here. But let's just start off, talk about why is university research such an important part of a top-tier university mission?
It's a great question, and I think, I might be biased because I'm in research, but I see research as really being the engine that drives the university, because the knowledge that we teach our students at the university typically was derived from research at some point. And so research is really that engine that puts the information in the hands of the students. And what's most exciting for me at K-State is how we engage our undergraduate students in a research mission, is empowering those students to be part of the creation of the knowledge and not just the learning of the knowledge, is really fun to see. And our faculty are incredibly dedicated mentors, especially over the summer, where we have students that work in our labs, work out on our research farms, and that experience really gives them that knowledge and that enthusiasm and that problem solving that oftentimes we're not able to teach in a classroom environment, and also gives students that resilience that allows them to pursue careers where they have to solve problems, because ultimately that's what we want to do at a university, is we want to impart knowledge, but we also want to create problem solvers, and research is essentially about solving problems. In addition, this is the economic engine for the state. If we think about the knowledge we're creating and the solutions that we provide our stakeholders across the state, this is how communities get better. This is how communities become resilient, is by having universities like K-State connect with the communities and help those communities to have solutions for the problems that they're facing. And so I'm incredibly excited about having that opportunity to be part of the engine that drives the state forward.
Yeah, that's really well said. I mean, you think about knowledge created, research, knowledge transfer, which is learning, right? What we think of typical educational aspect. And then you got the outreach, bringing it to practical, the usage for Kansans and the world abroad. So that's a good way to look at it for sure.
Yeah, and I think for us, the key metric for research is the data need to become decisions. If we can use the data to help inform decisions, we've been successful as researchers, and I think that's our challenge, especially in the current environment. Things are moving so fast, and producers have to make decisions so quickly that having that opportunity to connect them with experts in the field and helping them to make sense of the data that we're creating and help them to make informed decisions is something that we do really well here at K-State.
Especially when you talk about data, you know, AI. I mean, it's so much data these days being generated and shared and whatnot. So that's going to be really important. We've seen quite a bit of change in research grants this last year. I mean, there's been a lot of change. How has this impacted K-State? Talk about that, the research impact, and what opportunities might this present as well?
Yeah, we've seen a real shift in the priorities of the federal government in terms of how they fund research. And early on in the year, we had some challenges with our Feed the Future labs and sustained funding for those programs that have been institutionally very important for us and been very long-standing, not just as an asset for the university, but also for the state of Kansas, and that it allowed us to create some climate-resilient crops, for example, that are very important for our producers, especially out in the western part of the state. And so that funding had both a local and regional impact in addition to connecting with communities across the world. And so early on, some of those funding streams were impacted by changes to the USAID program. But through the work and collaboration with our federal partners, most notably Senator Moran, who's been a tremendous advocate for our programs here at K-State, we were able to reinstate some of those programs. And we're continuing to do good work in that area and helping to connect not just our farmers and producers with the mission of the Feed the Future program, but also continuing to support those international communities that depend on that research and that science. It's also given us an opportunity as an institution to look at how we do research and who we connect with. And I think we have an opportunity to be very focused in on our research strengths now and also to connect with industry in ways that we hadn't previously considered. And so those industry partnerships are becoming very important to us to be able to really make the work that we're doing here at K-State relevant to our stakeholders and ultimately to the state of Kansas and beyond, because they're as much part of what we're trying to accomplish as what we do here locally in Manhattan.
For K-Staters, you mentioned, Feed the Future. For those that may not know, maybe just talk about in a nutshell what Feeding the Future Labs are.
So the Feed the Future Labs is really an initiative that was housed within the College of Agriculture that connected our researchers that were working on specialty crops and crops that would be very resilient in adverse climatic conditions and being able to develop those and be able to cultivate those and create knowledge that could be transmitted broader than just the Manhattan community. So this was really an initiative that connected regional institutions. It wasn't just K-State. It was partners at Clemson and Texas A&M and other universities, and helped us to be able to solve problems more on a global scale than a regional scale. But obviously those solutions also had relevance to our regional stakeholders, especially as we see challenges in the western part of the state with access and availability of water. Those are problems that are shared elsewhere in the world. And so it's really a collective, a shared initiative on how do we solve problems that have a global impact. And that's what those Feed the Future Labs allowed us to do.
Yeah, that's a good example. Those creating drought-resistant crops, seeds. That could be application across the world. That's really neat. So any other opportunities that you can see that could come out of maybe some of these challenges?
I think the key for us is we've traditionally thought of research in a very siloed way. We think of research related to agriculture or research related to veterinary medicine or engineering. But the wicked problems in the world are going to be solved by interdisciplinary groups. The groups that have experts that have experience in engineering, working with experts that have experience in agronomy, potentially working with experts that have experience in animal disease, and being able to connect those groups and bring them together to solve those those wicked problems is really the next generation challenge for research at a land-grant university like K-State. And I think that's part of our land-grant mission, is how do we motivate and access all of the assets and resources that we have at the university to work together to be able to solve these problems, rather than maintaining, rather siloed view of research, which is traditionally how things have been done at universities across the world.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe if you had to pick one research story that captures who K-State is today, what would it be and what makes us distinctive?
I'm really excited about the work that's being done with the American Honey Institute. So the American Honey Institute has been stood up in collaboration with the American Honey Producers Association, researchers that we have here in entomology and the College of Agriculture, and then also Valor Honey here in town, which is a partnership that is engaged with veterans and to assist them to become successful beekeepers. And that collaboration is really a wonderful story, because our goal in that effort is to make sure that honey that is marketed in grocery stores is free from adulterants. Honey is one of the most adulterated foodstuffs in the world. It's exported internationally and oftentimes diluted with corn syrup and other sweet adulterants that are cheaper to produce than honey itself. And so the American Honey Institute is really focused on ensuring the integrity of the product, which not only helps our American beekeepers in that it ensures that what's being sold as honey is in fact honey, but also helps our consumers and the listeners to the podcast, that when you purchase honey from the grocery store, you know that it truly is honey and it's not an adulterated product. And so we've worked very closely with Dr. Brian McCormick within the Department of Entomology to be able to stand up the testing capabilities that help us to develop the test to ensure the integrity of honey. And that, to me, really connects with not just our stakeholders, but also our faculty, in a way to solve a problem that's a really pressing issue for us here in the U.S.
So I learned something new. I didn't even know we were doing that. See? So that's pretty neat. You talk about applications, and especially to the region. That's pretty impactful. That's awesome. What about maybe expand on the signature strengths and accomplishments here at K-State? So what can we really thrive, and what should we be focusing on, here at K-State as a research institution?
So President Linton, through the Next Gen strategic plan, has outlined our, imperatives within the plan, where I think we have an opportunity agenda focused on 4 pillars. And the first of those is community health and well-being. We're aware of certainly parts in the western part of the state of Kansas where access to healthcare is becoming a challenge. And I think with our network of extension agents across the state, we're able to utilize that network in a slightly different way to start to help address some of the challenges with community health and well-being. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us from a research perspective as well. The second pillar is sustainability. And we've talked about water already. The establishment of the Kansas Water Institute here at K-State is tremendous for us. We've been privileged to receive a $5 million recurring investment from the state, and allowing us to stand up that institute. And Dr. Susan Metzger is doing a fantastic job in connecting with parts of the state, not just looking at water quantity issues, but also water quality issues, looking at specifically at what are known as forever chemicals that might be in water, and helping to make sure that we have not just a sufficient amount of water, but also that the water that we have available to us is of a very high quality as well. And so that group within the sustainability aspect is doing fantastic work, in addition to work that's also been done within the agronomy department, looking at cover crops and soil health, which is key to our future as well. The third pillar would be global food security. We have to feed a growing international population. It's not just a U.S. issue. This is an international issue. And as we look at changing environmental conditions, we have to make sure that our crops can grow in the environments that we have available to us to grow crops. And so that global health and security piece is underpinning that. In addition to that, animal health and well-being and animal diagnostics is a tremendous strength for us here at K-State. We have recently received news that we will be building a new veterinary diagnostic lab here at K-State, which is a state asset. And we appreciate the support that we've received from the Kansas legislature in allowing us to build that facility. And that's going to be a state-of-the-art national and international asset. that allows us to do very advanced disease diagnostic and surveillance work. It's become very important for us as a state, especially as we see new and emerging disease situations like the New World screwworm issue and avian flu are both pressing issues for our livestock producers. And then lastly, we talk about enabling technologies, and we are really blessed at K-State to have a nuclear reactor on our campus. Many of our peer institutions have decommissioned their nuclear programs. We have just restarted our undergraduate nuclear engineering bachelor's degree. And nuclear for us, I think, solves a critical wicked problem that we have here in the U.S., and that is a sustainable energy supply to operate data centers around the AI economy. Without nuclear energy, we're not going to accomplish those goals. And so having that asset on campus puts K-State really in a very unique position to be a national leader in training that next generation of workforce to work in nuclear power and nuclear energy.
Yeah, I think those are some real priorities, but also really impacts. You talked about, the animal health, the diseases, that can be solved here, right? Researched, understood, prevented perhaps. And then you talk about the nuclear. How many universities across the country roughly have a nuclear reactor?
So we're the oldest, which is a little known fact. We actually have the longest serving reactor at a university across the country. But I believe there's about 26 programs that have reactors. But we have one of the most powerful. We're actually in the top 5 of the most powerful training reactor on a campus.
Wow.
And I think that allows us to engage with industries that are looking at new power generating technologies in a way that many of the institutions that we consider to be peer institutions in the region are not able to do. And so that really sets K-State apart uniquely in this area.
That's incredible. So focus on the impact of research locally and within the state of Kansas. Maybe share about when you talk to industry or community partners, what research questions they are most eager for K-State to tackle next.
I think one of the areas that we can really contribute is around making sense of data. So we talked about this early on, is that many of our modern systems, our modern tractors, our modern precision agriculture systems generate lots and lots and lots of data. And we're not making the most out of that information that we can. So we have researchers that work in the area of sensors and having advanced sensors that can look at things like soil moisture, soil quality, and soil nitrogen, and help producers to make really data-driven decisions about how do they best manage a piece of land. And that's where industry is probably most interested in connecting with us, is helping us, or help us to help them to make the most use and most sense of the data that they're creating and generating through our data management researchers, through the folks that are working in machine learning and AI, and helping to connect those industries with those producers in a way to make decisions based on data, I think is where we add significant value to those relationships. In addition, we work very closely with pharmaceutical industry on the veterinary side and the animal science side, and allowing those industries also to have an understanding of new and emerging disease threats and where they might tailor some of their future interventions to create vaccines or treatments that can help to address some of these new and emerging challenges that we have in the animal health space as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's changed. 30 years ago, it was trial and error agriculture, right? Yes. See what works, see what doesn't. Now we have data, we have real insights to how we can improve and be better. So that's incredible. What are some ways alumni and friends can plug into K-State research, whether it's through mentorships, projects, philanthropy, or corporate partnerships? How can alumni get involved?
I think this is one of the things that I'm most excited about in this role, is I think that from a research perspective, historically K-State has not engaged our alumni in ways where I think that we could really enrich the student experience and also help our faculty. So students benefit a lot from mentorship opportunities, from applied learning opportunities, and our alumni that are in industry positions that could provide those opportunities and that mentorship for our students is a tremendous asset for us, and one that we hope to be able to use more moving forward. But as we move into this brave new world of interdisciplinary research, I think that's an area where we would really value and benefit from the input from our alumni, is help bring those questions to us that our scientists can help to answer, bring us those wicked problems, and we can help us to develop those solutions. And that can be through serving on an advisory board for our colleges. It could be serving as a mentor for a faculty member, especially our faculty that are interested in entrepreneurship or starting a startup company. We have a number of faculty that have that interest. And so alumni that have had experience with startup companies or angel investor networks and taking ideas and bringing them forward to commercialization. That's expertise that is just invaluable for us here at the university, and being able to create those connections intentionally as we look to develop and expand our economic impact as a university would be really helpful for us as well. And then obviously the philanthropy piece is important too. Most of our buildings on campus have a college or department name in front of them. We're looking to build buildings that have no name in front of them, that are basically an interdisciplinary building where scientists from all the different colleges can get together and collaborate and work on these wicked problems without necessarily having a college or a department affiliation in those collaborations. And so as we look to the future and new infrastructure on campus, we're very excited about the opportunity that exists to have more interdisciplinary spaces that are not affiliated specifically with a program, but can help us to bring those groups of scientists together.
Yeah, that's tremendous. You talk about mentoring. The Alumni Association, you know this, is working on an AI technology networking that will roll out later this year, where students will be able to type in a question in a website, and it'll automatically go out and email people with similar experiences or what they're looking for. So if they're looking for mentors in a random state or in a certain degree or background or career, they'll be able to connect directly with them. So I think that's going to add a lot to as well. So I'm excited.
And in parallel with that, the VPR's office is connected with the Provost's office and with our extension network to launch a new Wildcat Scholar platform this year. It'll be towards the end of the year, where alumni and friends can type in an area of interest and it'll bring out a list of K-State faculty that are working in that area. Oh, wow. So if you want to put in a keyword of who's working in AI, this will provide a list of our faculty and help to connect those alumni with our faculty in very unique ways. And it also will bring a lot of consistency to our front-facing, outward-facing shop window, as you will, from K-State of what our faculty and researchers are working on, which will be a tremendous asset. And we encourage alumni, when that is launched, to engage with that network and truly be able to see what we're working on and who's working in those areas.
That's great, because sometimes I get what faculty members are working on X, and I can direct them, but this is going to be great. Yeah, that they can be able to see who's water and agriculture or AI or data, whatever it is.
We're very excited.
That's going to be a great tool. So maybe lastly, what's your elevator pitch for K-State research? Matters to K-State, the state, the world. Invest in the new area of capability to accelerate K-State research. So maybe just real quick, when you're talking to somebody about what's the elevator pitch for research at K-State?
I think we have a tripartite mission at K-State, and so our elevator pitch is that we create the next generation of workforce, we solve wicked problems, and we contribute to the economic development and prosperity of our state, our region, and our world.
Well, I think that's well said. So congratulations. I know almost not quite a year on the job, but incredible success, where we're going, heading forward, especially through some of these challenging times. So appreciate all you're doing to lift us up as a top-tier research university.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to visit and encourage alumni, as they have questions about the research that we're doing, or if they see opportunities where we could be more engaged, to reach out and let us know how we can be helpful. But we appreciate the partnership with the Alumni Association and appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So thank you.
Absolutely. We'll appreciate it. So the podcast is called The Scoop on K-State. So we, unfortunately, I told you, we don't have Call Hall. It's been 9 months, a little freezer burnt, so we didn't want to serve you freezer burnt ice cream. But we do have a couple choices here, and this is part of the podcast. My favorite part is we get to share scoop ice cream. So again, thank you so much for all you do, and fortunate to have you here at K-State.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of The Scoop on K-State. I'm Adam Walker, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association. I want to thank you for watching and listening to our show. Until next time, be sure to share this podcast with other K-Staters. Select that follow button on your podcast app so you'll never miss another episode. On behalf of the K-State Alumni Association and our staff, we're proud to be number 1 in the Big 12 in terms of membership, and we value and appreciate your ongoing support. And if you're not currently a member, please consider joining. And of course, Hans, go Cats.
Go Cats.